Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. President of the European Commission Ursula von der Leyen has announced plans to help the bloc's economies recover from the pandemic.
And distorts fair competition in the single market, and this has to stop.
Addressing the European Parliament, Ms von der Leyen warned that vaccine nationalism threatened lives and urged member states to cooperate and build a strong health union. Addressing the European Parliament, Mrs von der Leyen said, "This is the moment for Europe to trust each other and stand together."
Why are even simple statements on EU values delayed, watered down, or held hostage for other motives? When member states say Europe is too slow, I say be courageous and finally move to qualified majority voting, at least on human rights and sanctions implementation.
Barbados has announced its intention to remove Queen Elizabeth as its head of state and become a republic. In a statement, the Barbadian government said the time has come to fully leave our colonial past behind. A speech written by Prime Minister Mia Mottley said Barbadians wanted a Barbadian head of state, and Buckingham Palace said it was a matter for the government and the people of Barbados. The Caribbean country aims to complete the process in time for the 55th anniversary of independence from Britain in November 2021. Hurricane Sally has brought historic and catastrophic flooding to the southern US as it hits land.
You can barely even see the cars. My car is somewhere.
Eyewitness footage showed heavy rain and strong winds lashing the town of Gulf Shores, Alabama. The National Hurricane Center warned of a life-threatening storm surge and river flooding inland as far as Georgia. Hurricane Sally is one of several storms in the Atlantic Ocean, with officials running out of letters to name the hurricanes. Authorities warn that the storm is moving extremely slowly, which means the rains could linger and cause further damage. There's been more violence between Palestinian militants in Gaza and Israel after a ceremony in Washington where Israel and 2 Gulf Arab states normalized their relations. Rockets lit up the night sky in Gaza overnight as militants fired 2 rockets into Israel. One hit the coastal city of Ashdod, wounding 2 men. Another barrage of 13 rockets was launched before dawn on Wednesday. In retaliation, the Israeli military bombed sites in Gaza it said belonged to the Palestinian group Hamas. Japan's parliament has elected Yoshihide Suga as the country's new prime minister following the surprise resignation of Shinzo Abe. The lower house stood and applauded as he was officially announced as leader, while Suga bowed to show his gratitude. After winning the leadership of the governing party earlier this week, the vote confirmed the former chief cabinet secretary's new position. He becomes the country's first new leader in nearly 8 years and has described a continuity cabinet where he's expected to keep about half of predecessor Shinzo Abe's lineup. In South Africa, funeral workers have picketed outside a Johannesburg hospital, angry at changes within their industry during the coronavirus pandemic. 3 days of action have been prompted by changes to a host of regulations and procedures, some coming in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic, that black funeral workers say favour the industry's big players. For this reason, they're asking for a COVID relief fund. South Africa's health ministry has warned that the strike poses a public health risk to the country. And finally, the British auction house Christies plans to sell the skeleton of one of the largest known Tyrannosaurus rexes in early October. The approximately 67-million-year-old dinosaur, known as Stan, was originally discovered in 1987 in South Dakota. Christies will display the dinosaur from Wednesday to mid-October in New York. The auction house also plans to book socially distant viewings of the dinosaur, estimating the value of Stan between $6 and $8 million. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.